From homeless to Harvard, the unbelievable true story of David Reyes. When people say anything is possible, most of us nod politely. But deep down, we don't always believe it. Yet once you hear David Reyes' story, you might never doubt it again. Because this man went from sleeping under a bridge in Los Angeles to graduating from Harvard University with honors. And no, this isn't a Hollywood script. It's 100% real. David Reyes was born in East Los Angeles in 1988, in one of the toughest neighborhoods in California. His father was in and out of jail, and his mother worked double shifts at a diner to keep food on the table. Their home was small, noisy, and often dangerous. Gunshots at night weren't unusual. Sirens were background noise. By the time David turned 10, his life had already become a storm. His father disappeared completely, leaving behind a trail of broken promises. His mother, Maria, tried her best, but her health collapsed under the weight of exhaustion. At 13, David watched her lose her job, and 3 months later, their apartment. That was the beginning of their homelessness. For the next 3 years, they moved from shelter to shelter. Sometimes, when no bed was available, they slept in an old green Ford Taurus parked behind an abandoned grocery store. Quote, "The hardest part wasn't the hunger. It was pretending everything was okay so my mom wouldn't cry." Unquote. Despite the chaos, David refused to give up on school. He attended a rough public high school where most students cared more about survival than grades. Teachers often ignored him. Classmates teased him for wearing the same clothes every day. But one afternoon, while cleaning tables at a small cafe to earn lunch money, a man named Mr. Thompson, a retired history teacher, noticed David reading an old library book on philosophy. "Do you actually like that stuff?" the old man asked. David nodded shyly. "It's the only thing that makes me forget I'm hungry." Mr. Thompson started visiting the cafe every week. He brought used textbooks, notebooks, and even a small laptop he no longer needed. Slowly, David discovered a deep passion for learning, not just for grades, but as a way to escape the trap life had built around him. He began studying late at night using street lights to read. Sometimes police would tell him to move along, thinking he was loitering. He didn't argue. He'd simply walk to another light post and keep reading. Every page felt like a door, he would later write, and I just kept walking through them. When David was 16, tragedy struck again. His mother passed away after a sudden stroke. He was left completely alone. Most kids his age would have collapsed under the pain, but David did something few could imagine. He decided he wouldn't let her death be the end of his story. He made it his mission to honor her by doing something extraordinary. He applied to a youth shelter that helped homeless teens get back into school. The social workers there noticed his grades, straight A's, despite everything. They helped him enter a city science fair where he presented a small, homemade solar heater made from recycled soda cans and car parts. He didn't win first place, but one of the judges, a UCLA professor, was so impressed that he offered to mentor him. From there, doors started to open, slowly at first, then all at once. David joined a community college program for gifted students, balancing classes with night shifts at a grocery store. He still didn't have a permanent home, but he had something even stronger, a vision. In 2008, he applied to Harvard University, writing in his essay, "I don't want pity from my past. I want a chance to prove that even the forgotten kids under the bridge can shine if someone just hands them a light." Harvard not only accepted him, they offered him a full scholarship. The day the acceptance letter arrived, David was sitting outside a public library, using the Wi-Fi to check his email. When he saw the word "congratulations," he said he couldn't move for almost 5 minutes. "I just stared," he later recalled. "It felt like my mother was smiling somewhere." At Harvard, David faced another kind of challenge. He was surrounded by students from wealthy families, kids who had everything he never did. But instead of feeling inferior, he used it as motivation. He studied harder than anyone, often spending nights in the library until the janitors came to clean. He graduated in 2012, majoring in environmental engineering, and later became an advocate for renewable energy in low-income communities. In 2018, he returned to Los Angeles, not as the scared boy who once slept in a car, but as a man determined to make sure no child in his city would ever face what he did. He founded a nonprofit organization called Lighthouse Futures, which provides solar-powered shelters and educational support for homeless teens. Within 5 years, his foundation helped over 1,000 young people find stability, education, and purpose. Today, when people ask him what kept him going, he simply smiles and says, "Hope isn't something you find. It's something you build, even out of nothing." David's story has since been featured on CNN, The New York Times, and several motivational podcasts. Yet, he remains humble. He still drives an old car. He still visits the cafe where Mr. Thompson first spoke to him. And every year, he gives a scholarship in his mother's name to one student who has overcome homelessness. He once said during a Harvard alumni event, "I used to think success was about money or fame. But success, I've learned, is about building bridges, not the ones made of steel and concrete, but the kind that lead people from despair to hope." And perhaps that's the greatest success story of all.